Okay, we're gonna start. We're 2025, June the 9th. Time is 7:08 p.m. There is no quorum, so we're going to have a discussion with the hopes of having a quorum come in because we're very close. But in any event, we have two presentations. And it's going to start with Maria Centennial.
And
Yes, hello, good evening.
Yes.
Hi, Maria Centeno from DBC, Director of Community Outreach and Notification. Is it possible to put the presentation up on the screen? I think we sent it in advance. Yes?
We don't have it. George, do you have it?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Yes, we do.
Yep.
Yeah, we're good. Is that it?
Okay,
Maria, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Can you put it on presentation mode, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we have the first of all, I just want to start by thanking Community Board 12 for having us tonight, allowing us to present some upcoming projects in Community Board 12. No, that's not the right one. Cynthia, that's not the right one, is it?
That's the one that's attached to the presentation.
Okay, well, it has the wrong project ID, but let's go to the next.
Oh,
It
you
also
know
has the
what?
wrong date.
Yeah.
But it says upcoming projects in CB12.
That's what
So
she
let's go to
has,
the next
yeah.
one. Okay.
Let me see. Yeah,
This is
that's
fine.
it.
This is fine. So we have two
Okay.
projects for you to that we're presenting. The HED 562, and that's a trunk water main on East 233rd Street, and then we have the QED 1063A. So there's locations in Queens and in the Bronx, and that's water mains, distribution water main installations. And so we're just going to share those two projects, but really it's just an overview of the project goals and benefits. We'll share the map and locations, impacts and mitigation, and then outreach and scheduled milestones. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the East 233rd Street project. As you can see, excuse me. The span of it starts at a little bit past Bronxwood Avenue, right? And it goes into.
Oh, sorry. Hadia, it won't go back. Gosh.
Okay, it won't go back.
There it
Okay,
goes.
fine.
There it goes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
And I think it goes into the Reamer Avenue, thereabouts. Just a little bit into the park, Eden Mall Park. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so 48 trunk water main. So we're not just doing distribution of water main, which are the smaller pipes, the 8, 12, and 20, that connects into the homes, but we're also doing a trunk water main of 48 inch diameter. So that's pretty huge. It's about that's really the whole intent of the project. Is we're going to continue some trunk water main. As you know, we finished a lot of the trunk water main work on Bainbridge, and so we're just continuing that work. We also have sewers as part of this project. So we're going to replace in some locations, we're going to repair in other locations. And that's again to address any broken or deficient pipes within the project limits. There's catch basins, right, which are really important as far as the overall drainage, because as we have storm water, the water is diverted along the curbs into the catch basins. So we need to upgrade that in general. The fire hydrants also will improve fire protection, and that goes hand in hand with a lot of the water main work. Then you have curbs and sidewalks, okay, at where necessary. As I said, a lot of the drainage improvements, work hand in hand. So where there aren't sidewalks or where new sidewalks are installed or need to be, curbs along with that will help to divert the water. Also, roadways, curbs will also be part of the improvements that we have under this project. So as you know, trunk water main is going to be extremely large. So a lot of the roadway work that's going to take place is going to be very much curb to curb. So we'll improve a lot of the surface grading and ponding issues in the roadways. And I believe we have about 4 trees that are being removed. Yeah, about 3 or 4
Yes.
trees.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have a shaft chamber location. So these trees, from my understanding, are being removed due more to interference than condition. So unfortunately, sometimes that is necessary. I know trees are very important to the community, but very minimal. We only remove it if we absolutely have to. And of course, this is all in coordination with the Parks Department. So they're well aware if we have to move street trees, we cannot just do that arbitrarily. All right, next slide, please. So again, I think we showed a map earlier of the locations. So this is just a list of the locations. And then there also is some intersection work. So the intersections along 233rd Street, obviously, Bronxwood, Eden Mall, Paulden, Laconia, Eli, Grace, Edison, Baychester, DeReamer towards the end. I'm not sure why this is not in order. Wickham and Bruner Avenue. Next. And here is just a quick overview of the schedule for the project. So design started quite some time ago. And we've had meetings throughout the design coordination process. Mass mailings were sent April of 2023, and then again, mass mailing 2, October of 2023. So basically, mass mailing 1 is when we're at about 40% design, right? And we know more or less what the geometry, what's in the ground at that point, and what the potential interferences are. And then mass mailing 2 is at about 75% design. So we're almost towards the final design stage. And again, design completion is, the fall of 2024. And then it goes through the whole procurement process, right? Has to do the bid packaging, gets reviewed by law, all of that. Procurement usually can last anywhere from 6 to 9 months. At least that's the average that we're going with right now. So summer of 2025, which is right around the corner, we're anticipating construction. But what that really means is that's when we kind of anticipate the project to become registered, right? And so the contractor will get notice to proceed, right? And then the next 30 to 90 days, the contractor has to order materials. They have to do their submittals, approval of the schedule and permits and all of that. So it's a more regulatory paperwork and ordering of materials and staging. So all of that happens right around that time. So summer, it could be midsummer, could be late summer. We will know more once the contractor is on board and our construction team has had an opportunity to speak to the contractor. And then at that point, once we reach construction, we can come back and talk about what the construction plan will look like, what those expectations are. But we'll definitely give you an overview of some of the more common impacts and mitigation plan, and obviously our outreach. But that's it as far as the schedule and the project benefits and scope of work and limits for the East 233rd Street project. Then we have a second project in your community board. We got another slide.
That's the QED. The
Oh,
1063?
yeah, this is the QED. Yeah, so this is just an overall map of the different locations. So I think we have a location. We have two locations in the Bronx, right? We have one in Community Board 7, and then we have obviously Community Board 12. Maybe we have a close up of that map. I don't know. I think we do at some
not-
point. But let's go to the next
Yeah,
slide.
at some point, yeah.
So the scope of work, again, water main work. This time it's just distribution water main, again, to just improve the quality of the water. And again, there's some issues with water pressure as well in the community. So this is the close up right here that I was talking about. So as you can see, it's really 3 blocks, right? You got busing. I can't even see that.
It's Bussing Avenue between Grace Avenue and Edison Avenue.
Yeah, and it
And great.
touches Pittman. Yeah, the intersections of
Yes.
Pittman as well.
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So this is a much more smaller footprint in comparison to the first project. Go to the next slide, please. Oh, okay. So here we go. All right. So we have a construction start of fall of this year. And we're looking at a 2-year project for this one. So again, same thing. Design started sometime in 2023. And again, some projects are very straightforward. So this one, obviously, we started a lot sooner, right, in 2023, and we're already ready to go to construction. And unlike East 233rd, where it's trunk water main, it's a lot more complicated, much bigger job, even, budget-wise. So, that kind of explains, why sometimes it can take, just a few years to design a project versus others. So again, spring of 2024, we did the mass mailing. Again, summer of 2024, we did mass mailing 2. And we finished this design last year, winter. No, wait a second.
No,
We're finishing design
Correct.
winter of this year. Sorry, winter of this year. And then we're looking at fall 2025 construction. Why does that not?
It looks
That
kind of
doesn't-
odd, but that's
It's a little
I get
off, isn't
stuff.
it?
Yeah.
It's a little off. I
Yeah,
don't know. I didn't do this presentation. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
But it looks like fall. Yeah, I
Design
think
completion
definitely
was May of 2024.
2024. That's
Correct.
what I thought. See, I was right the
Yeah.
first time. Okay.
Yeah.
Should
We
just trust
apologize.
myself.
We just reading off
Okay.
of someone else's
Yeah. So I did say, yeah,
presentation.
last year winter, this project was designed,
Yes.
completed. Okay. And then we're looking at fall of 2024 for this project. So this
Correct.
one will start after, obviously, East 233rd has already kicked off for the most part. And again, this is a 2-year project. So, I mean, before we go on to the next part, which is just an overview of the common impacts and mitigation, do you have any questions so far on any of the 2 projects that we shared?
Sorry, one quick question. So the water main project, let's say on busing, for example, that's going to be a 2-year project. The road's going to be all ripped up for 2 years.
No, it's the total duration of the project. So we're doing a lot of distribution water main for the one on busing. And that one is, we're going to be on certain blocks for several months for the most part.
Okay, so about 3 months. If someone were to ask me, how long is the disruption on busing going to be? I could say probably a few months.
That's normally how, because water main installation does happen rather quickly, unlike sewer, right? And we're talking about just distribution water main versus, let's say, East 233rd Street, which is trunk water main. So that's a lot more involved work. But what we can do, obviously, again, our plan is that once we hit construction, we're going to come back to the community board and we're going to have a lot of those details as far as the timeline for specific work. Regarding the scope of work and that we'll have a better sense of what the timing looks like and what that impact would look like. But just to give you a general sense, I mean, we're digging a trench in the street, right? So there are going to be some impacts, and you're going to see us coming in advance, right? Because you're going to see us down the block and we're going to be working our way. Usually it's a very linear operation. So, we may have one, we may have two crews, right? But with a project as small as this one, where it's only really 3 major blocks and the intersections related to those locations, you know, do we need 3 crews? Probably not. And again, we don't even know. And the reason why it's 2 years, you're wondering, like, what's only 3 blocks? Remember, we have locations in Community Board 7. We also have other Queens locations. So again, we don't know until the contractor comes on board whether he's going to decide to, let's say, do the Queens locations first, right? So then that means that although we may start fall of 2025, we may not start the work in the Bronx until 2026, right? So there is that. And then he may decide to start in CB7 and work his way north or vice versa. So again, we don't have those specifics, but as soon as we do, we will come back to you. So that's why it's not for the full duration of the 2 years. For Community Board 12, it's only in that one area, and that work could take 6 months to do all those blocks, right? Those 3 blocks.
My other
So,
question, sorry, my other question
I'm done.
was, is there any way, this might be a silly question, is there any way to coordinate with any other agent, like let's say Con Ed or any other agency that might need access underground, so that when you're ripping the road up, everybody that needs to get in there can get in there at the same time? Because I've seen on numerous occasions where work is done to rip up the road and replace a sewer or replace power lines or whatever, and then the road is paved and repaired, and then 6 months later, some other agency is back ripping up the road a second time. So anything you can give me on that, I'd appreciate.
Yeah, so generally speaking, DDC is really responsible for coordinating a lot of that work in advance of even the construction project. So one of the first things that happen, even before the contractor starts working, is utilities. They can start doing utilities, meaning anything from Con Edison to cable, Verizon, you name it. And they would come in advance, and hopefully they'll be far enough along that it allows our contractor space to start doing his work, right? Because all the utilities are the most shallowest part of the roadway. Utilities are usually like the first layer when you open up the ground that you see there. And then underneath that, it's water main. Then underneath that, really deep, is sewer. And we have different kinds of sewers, right? Combined, sanitary, storm. So utilities has to be moved and relocated out of our way in order for our contractor to have access to the water main work in order to do it. So utilities is the very first thing that happens. So obviously that's going to be one of the first things. And so again, usually, ideally, they would come in and they would start the utility relocation work prior to our contract even starting. Or they sometimes wait until the contractor is on board so that the contractor can then open up the street for access. And then utilities happens. And then shortly thereafter, our contractor can actually start the work physically. So there is that. Now, as far as other coordination for future projects, once we do the work on the street, ideally you're not, utilities knows that this is the perfect opportunity to go in, do whatever upgrades, not just relocation, but upgrades that need to be done. And sometimes they take the opportunity to do the upgrades as well. That way, once we're done and we're finished and the street is nice and smooth and it's brand new, they don't have any reason to come back and open up the street, right? And ideally, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. But unfortunately, if it's an emergency or gas emergency, Con Edison usually is allowed to come in after a street has been newly paved, and again, at the angst of us, DDC or DOT for that matter, they just get the permit and they're able to open up a nice brand new street, and it happens. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but hopefully, the utilities involved will do what they need to do in the front end, so that way, once we're done, the roadbed won't be disturbed. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm familiar with the construction aspect of this, and what you're saying sounds good, but it never goes like that. So
Hard
my
work,
concern,
sometimes,
my
yeah.
concern is that my concern is when you guys are cutting the street open, it's bad enough that y'all cut the street open. Like, what are y'all going to be storing those pipes and stuff? Where are y'all going to be? Like, do you have a designated spot where you're going to be putting that stuff at, or you'll just put it anywhere and just leave it overnight? And it's a big inconvenience for driving and everything.
So are you talking about where we're putting the pipes, meaning the storage and staging of materials?
Yes.
Okay, so that again gets coordinated with Department of Transportation, DOT. So our contractor is not allowed to just work whenever, however he wants. Everything is permitted, right? So they dictate the hours that the contractor can work, where he can work, and that also includes staging and storage of materials. And so normally they try to find the least impactful location. So, we're not going to block driveways, obviously. We have to maintain access, we have to maintain roadways. So that's all coordinated with DOT. And so I think we're going to touch on that, in the next section of the presentation.
Okay.
As far as, future coordination during construction. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Cynthia, so she can also present some additional information with
I
regards
I
to
have a
coordinating.
question if it's okay.
Sure.
Along that way, there's also a car wash. It's sort of a mini mart there where we have a supermarket, we have a library. It's also several schools around that area. It's very busy. I'm concerned of quality of life, safety of pedestrians, and also these businesses like the car wash along where you have that. There's a car wash for the entrance of the car wash. And it's also a mini mall where we have supermarkets and Chinese restaurants, stuff that's quality of life issue for me, as I see it.
Mhm.
I go there shopping a lot. A lot of people shop there, and like I said, it's very busy around school time. There's 3 or
Yeah.
4 schools around there,
Yeah,
and the
and
library as well.
right. So again, like I mentioned, DOT has to give us a schedule. So their stipulations tells the contractor, typically we like to work from 7 to 3:30, right? But with schools, usually they limit work in front of schools only till 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Why? Because they know that the arrival and dismissal of school, you don't want construction happening around that time, right? And so there's also maintenance of protection, in traffic, right? Pedestrian traffic. So again, the construction work has to coexist with the community, right? You still got to get to work, you still got to get the kids to school. And so the MPT again tells the contractor where he can work, what hours he can work. And so that's all been, coordinated in advance, even before the project was bid, right, by a contractor. So he knows in advance what he has to do and what items are in the contract. So a lot of that has been thought out beforehand. And so again, when we come back during construction, we can give you the specifics on all of that as well. So we have a liaison. I don't want to steal Cynthia's thunder, but yes, we do have a coordination plan that, we've been doing this for years, and we're very aware that essential city services have to continue, right? Still got to do sanitation pickup. We still have to do a lot of different things. So there are some impacts during construction sometimes, and we'll let you know, is it permanent? Is it just temporary during construction? So all of this will be shared at that time, but let's give you just sort of like a preview of some of the things that we've anticipated and what the mitigation plan is going forward as we begin the construction of these 2 projects in your community. Cynthia?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
can I interrupt for a second? I have a
Sure.
question.
Sure.
All right. I am the chair of land use, all right? I was unable to attend today because I'm at the doctor's office. But I have a question for you. Who's your contractor? Do you know yet?
What do you mean? Our community construction liaison?
No, the
No,
contractor. We
who's
don't
gonna
have,
do the work?
Oh,
Who's the
who's the
contractor?
contractor? We don't have that information until the contract is registered.
Okay, number two, who's gonna make sure he stays within the stipulations?
So we have inspectors on the job. BDC
Yeah,
is
well,
in charge of managing the project. And in addition to that, as far as the day-to-day aspects and compliance that the contractor has to follow, we also have a second contract in addition to the contractor. So the contractor performs the actual work, and then we have a second contract where it's called an REI firm, residential inspection firm, is hired to do oversight every day with the contractor. They hire the inspectors, they have an office engineer, resident engineer, they do all the counts, they make sure that, they do all the sampling, all that there's a lot of oversight with regards to that.
yeah,
To our
I'm well aware
contracts.
of that because for 20 years, I signed off on stipulations for construction in the street.
Okay, so then you're very
All
familiar.
right?
Mhm.
I'm very familiar with what you're talking about, and I'm impressed on your presentation. But what happens after the contract gets the bid, they go on their own way, wherever they want to go. You don't know how many jobs that had shut down because they
So,
were in violation of their stipulations.
all
You
right, so
need
if you,
somebody out there to make sure they follow them.
that's right, and we have the REI firm. But again, this is a limited staff. I'm not disagreeing with you. You have one resident engineer, you have one office engineer, you have maybe a couple of inspectors, and depending on how large the project is, it could be 3 or so. And if the contractor has more than one crew, and we only have 2 inspectors, and he has 3 crews, it can get a little tricky. I'm not saying that can't happen. But again, if you see something, or if someone, common sense, right? If something doesn't look right, you can always give us a call, and we'll check it out, whatever that concern might be. Okay.
Is
And
Hike
then in
is
addition,
still in existence?
I'm sorry, say again.
Is Hike still in existence?
Yes,
Yes,
and
the
DOT. So you
Well,
can,
they're the
and you
ones
don't even have
that
to
should be
call us.
checking out the job.
Right. You don't even have to call us. You can just call 311. You can call DOT, and HIQA will be sent over if they're not in compliance. And the contractor will get summons up the wazoo. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that contractors won't take an opportunity to behave badly, right? But if they know that the community's watching, right? If they know that the community is very astute, right, and they know what's right and what's wrong, contractors will not risk that, right? So you call HIQA once or twice, believe me, they'll be in their best behavior. And again, I don't know who the contractor is. Some contractors are fantastic, and other contractors maybe not so much. But again, if you see something that doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, you just give us a call, or you can again call 311. Again, we try our best to manage the projects. But the community also has eyes and ears, right? So feel free to let us know, and we'll look into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late for your presentation, but it sounded pretty good from what I heard.
Well, whatever you missed, we have this presentation available. We'll have it available on our website, and obviously we can send the community board a copy. So I like to, I'm sorry to Cynthia, I probably should have saved the questions for last night.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's
No,
just
it's
more
fine.
Okay,
on
thank
what
you.
I've discussed thus far. So yeah. All right. Thank you.
Can I ask you another question? Hello?
Okay. Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
I thank you for
We're here to answer your questions.
hello. Yeah, thank you for explaining everything. It's getting a little clearer for me. So I'm just I want to know if you can help me understand the community benefits here. Do you have a program, something where the community actually gets to work on the project? Because I believe that if you have community working in the community, it's like self ownership. It makes them feel good about the community being uplifted. So, do you have a program or something that you're working with the community board with, or somebody at this community board in reference to work
Are
for the
you talking about
community?
job opportunities? Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
employment opportunities. Okay, so
Yeah.
in our contract, we do have a stipulation for local hiring, right? The city also has what's called Hire NYC. So there's many different ways that both the contractor as well as the REI firm, can look for, job opportunities locally within the community. But as it stands, we also have what's called the MWBE. It's my
I know what that
minority.
is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Women Business
we have-
Enterprise.
Right,
Right.
exactly. So we have a percentage goal, right? So depending on the project's overall budget, there's a certain percentage that we call it participation goals that they have to meet. Sometimes they're specified, sometimes they're unspecified, right? To meet, certain, whether it's women or Hispanic or Black companies, whatever the stipulate, the specifics are. And so that the contractor has to meet those MWBE goals, right? So the thing with that though, we're talking about companies, not individuals who live in the community, right? It's actual companies, and the principal of the company, right? So that's kind of how it's accounted for. So
Why? Why
I
an
don't write the
individual
rules.
can't come and be qualified and get the job?
No. I'm not saying that
Okay,
they
you're
don't do
dealing with
local hiring.
companies.
So
I'm
so we
just
do
helping you
have
understand that.
right. So we have also contractors who do use union workers, right? And
That's what I was
sometimes
gonna
the
say.
union workers that are used on their projects can come from the community, right?
Yes.
So there are different opportunities. So again, I'm not as well versed in this particular area, and what I can do, since there is a particular interest with regards to local hiring and MWBE participation goals and such, I can definitely have someone from DDC come at our next presentation during the construction phase, and we can certainly dedicate some time to talk about how that works.
How about a
And
job fair? How about a job fair or something? How about a job
no,
fair?
that was you're reading my mind. And so I was gonna say right after that was, in certain projects, we actually do have what we call job fairs, right? So we have the contractor and we'll do some type of local hiring job fair. So that has been done on certain DDC projects, and we can talk about how we can arrange to have one for Community Board 12 once the project kicks off. Okay.
So, you will be
Thank you.
using union labor, right? 731 and 1010.
So again, my understanding is that they do utilize union workers.
Right, so they do have, programs put into place where they will, hire people from the neighborhood zip code if
Correct.
requested.
Correct.
So I
Yes.
believe if you guys request it, then they will have it done.
Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
I think if we can just allow Cynthia to finish the last remaining slides. And then we can open it up again for more open discussion or more questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you.
all right. Okay, what happened here? Now it froze. All
Oh,
right.
there we go.
Community impacts and mitigations. It's, roadway lane closures are necessary within, doing the work that DDC is going to do, which the contractor is going to be doing. Temporary loss of parking at certain work zones will be necessary. Temporary relocation of bus stops when needed as coordinated. Oh my God, this thing is in my way. I apologize. With MTA surface. Schedule water main service shutdowns with advanced 72 and 24-hour advisories will go out. Weekend hours for construction may be necessary. Typical construction hours are from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., but can vary depending on work locations as per DOT OCMC STIPs. And street vendors, dining out, and New York City coordination as required with DOT. All right, next. Let's go to next. Come on. Okay. And now we're continuing with the community impacts and mitigations. Contractors shall work within DEP noise code regulations, keep storage site areas clean and safe, cover trucks delivering filled materials, provide professional rodent control inspectors to monitor and maintain rodents, Rodent control stations within project limits are only where there is deep excavation. Garbage pickup may be affected and will be coordinated with appropriate stakeholders and DSNY. Let's see, okay. Traffic patterns. Contractor shall maintain the following: signage and personnel to ensure a safe work site for pedestrians and vehicles. Maintain pedestrian access to sidewalks, crosswalks, and buildings. Maintain emergency throughway traffic, one way in both directions at all times. Plate and open roadway traffic when site is unattended and not in use. Parking and driveway access may be restricted when necessary. Coordination is done on a case-by-case basis. Signs will be posted in advance of work to avoid towing of cars. Full roadway closures, intermittent and when necessary. Okay, community outreach. These are there will be a CCL assigned to this project, which DDC Office Communication and Outreach and Notification works with CB's bids, local businesses, and other community stakeholders impacted by construction. DDC will assign a dedicated on-site community construction liaison, the CCL. The CCL's information will be provided at the pre-construction phase, and where in the bottom here it says emails to be determined, phone and field location, office location will be determined as well. And the field office hours are from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And any questions, you can reach Kristen Cawthorn. She's the lead, the project lead for DDC. Okay, and now the community construction liaison, the CCL responsibilities are as followed. First point of contact, maintain on-site presence and communications, identify, resolve, and/or proactively address issues and inquiries, distribute advisories and weekly construction activity newsletters, etc. Provide advanced 72 and 24-hour confirmation or cancellation. Advisories for work impact by email and or door-to-door posting. Attending community board monthly DSC meetings and other community meetings as necessary to keep the community informed of the project's schedule and impacts. This is what we have here is like examples of what you'll be receiving from the CCL. He or she will be sending out pick cards, which gives you an overall detailed picture of exactly what's going on with the project. And the community advisories are next to that, which gives you, this is the 72 and 24-hour with community advisory, which the CCL will be handing out or posting on the doors or anywhere else that they can put it up to inform the community of what's happening during that time that they'll be doing construction. The community boards also will be receiving the weekly construction bulletin, which informs them what's coming ahead. And also the quarterly newsletters will be sent out as well. Okay, anybody has any questions?
No, any questions virtually? Is that it?
No, we're
Yes.
actually, just to answer Denise's questions about like the supermarket and the car wash and all that stuff, the community coordinator will actually work with a manager of those developments or vendors and make sure that they know, and they'll make sure everything is done in a neat and performance way.
Yes.
Okay,
And also
thank you.
the CCL also creates an NNN list, which, we advise everyone that when the CCL does come on board, that, you do give her your email so you can get updates weekly. So that's what the CCL will do. They'll come around and get all the information, emails, phone numbers, whatever you want to give to her as of, you know, your cell phone number, home phone number. He or she will reach out to you and inform you of everything that's going on with the project.
Okay, last question.
Hello, my name is Ariel. This is more of a suggestion because I know that when there comes to construction, not everybody in the neighborhood gets the memo that there's construction, like when you have to move cars and everything like that. If when you're putting up signage and you're letting people know between this day and this time, like you know you have to move your car, if you can please put exactly where or information if you do move the cars where they can locate their cars because sometimes that's a big issue.
Yeah. So we do have a process in with regards to, well, hopefully we try not to tow the car, and if we can work around them, then we try to do that. But basically the contractor is allowed to move cars, you know, a block or a few blocks away, and they have to leave the car in a legal parking spot, so that they don't get a ticket, right? But when we do move cars, we have what's called a tow list, and that tow list has the make and the model and where the car was parked and where it was moved. And we share that list not only with the community board, but we also share the list with the local precinct. Because
Okay,
sometimes people are, yeah. So that way, if you know, God forbid, someone comes outside and they see that their car is not there, one of the first things they'll do is call the police and think, oh my God, what happened to my vehicle? So we do share the tow list with the community board as well as the precinct.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm asking for that to be on the paper of when you guys move the cars because I have been a person twice where there was construction being made and I called the precinct and I called 311 and I had to report my car stolen.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
had so I understand that there's protocols. I'm just saying that there are times when there's loopholes in those protocols. So something that can help residents is that if you just put underneath the contact information of, you know, if their car was missing, that they can just reach out to that, which I think it's very, you know, small and simple to
So
do.
I'm glad you're bringing that up because I mean, literally just had a conversation last week. We are updating our no parking signs that our contractors use, and one of the things that we're going to do is we're putting a contact number on our no parking signs. But even before we tow, a person will see this, and if they're not sure, they can actually call that number, and it's a live person that will pick up that number, ideally, because we do have field staff who are on call that they should pick up at all hours. And so the person will actually, if they have a question like, should I park here? Is this really happening? You can call that number. So we are literally updating our no parking signs. Hopefully by the time hopefully by the time these projects are in effect, we will have those parking signs in use.
Thank
So
you.
I'm glad we're having this conversation. Yes, we will have contact number and we will have a person, that you can reach out to. So,
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to make sure the residents know where they
of
could get their
course.
cars, and especially, I know that you said that they park it where there are, you know, like legal parking spaces, but there are times that they have not, and people
That's
can
true.
get tickets. I just want to make sure.
That's
Thank
true.
you so
Yeah,
much for your
you're
time.
right. You're absolutely right. That there are
Okay,
instances where that's not the case.
all right. That concludes our questions. I want to thank you, ladies, for your presentation. All
Thank
right,
you.
you've been quite informative. All
Thank
right.
you. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Please send us a copy of the presentation to the community
Definitely.
board.
Yes, will
All
do.
right.
I'm just gonna correct the cover page before I do.
A
But
couple of
thank you.
tweaks and then we can send it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
I
having
appreciate
us.
Okay.
it. You have a
All right.
great one.
No problem.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We have another presentation. Yeah. Mr. Downer.
Hey, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
Okay. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, so my presentation is going to be quick and brief. I'm going to start by sharing my screen and showing a video from BxCB12. I'm also going to put this bio in the chat of what I'm going to be presenting today. So I'll do that real quick. And then let me share my screen. And then just let me know if this video, if you could hear this video. Is the sound playing?
Hold on for 1 minute.
Hang on. And for those of you, I want to keep you aware, this is a street renaming for the gentleman that passed away on Eastchester Road and Gibbon Avenue. All right, just to give you an overview. All right.
Yeah, and I'll give a brief bio about my uncle as well after this video.
All right.
With a heartfelt balloon release and the glow of candles flickering in the night, the Bronx community gathered Friday to honor the life and legacy of Dwight Downer, a beloved football coach whose sudden death has left many in shock and mourning. Keith Spivey worked alongside Downer for years with the youth football team, the Bronx Buccaneers.
He was a mentor, you know. He was a person that was selfless and would do anything for anybody at the drop of a dime. Sometimes when I'm alone and, you know, I think about some of the things he did and, you know, I start to tear up and I got to catch myself.
Downer, who was known for shaping young lives through sports, was killed in a tragic car accident near his home. Police say it was Saturday near Eastchester Road and Gibbon Avenue when the driver of a BMW crashed into a pickup truck and two parked cars before striking the 60-year-old. Ronald Knight plays football at DeWitt Clinton High School and says Coach D gave him confidence when no one else did.
He allowed me to be a speaker, allowed me to know the power of my voice and be able to speak up to those around me. I was never expecting this.
Dozens of students, friends, and family members embraced each other, sharing stories about Downer's unwavering dedication to the community he served. Downer's stepdaughter, Shatiala Adele, says he offered guidance and support to all who knew him.
Me firsthand being able to see him like in his compassion inspired with my mom, you know, with my daughters, with my nieces and nephews, it's like a really big loss if you see all these people out here. Some of these kids don't have dads, some of these people don't have somebody like a father figure, and Coach D definitely was that.
The vigil ended with a moment of prayer as those in attendance vowed to carry on his legacy. As for the Bronx Buccaneers, they say no one else can truly fill the void Coach D has left on the team.
We could replace a person, but there's no replacing Coach D.
Coach Downer's family has launched a GoFundMe campaign, which has already raised more than $10,000 to cover funeral expenses as they plan to honor his remarkable legacy.
So that's just a brief brief description of who my uncle was. Some of you may know me. My name is Patrick Downer. I work with MPC, Mashulu Preservation Corporation. I do work with CB12 sometimes with Ursula Green. I do see George Torres sometimes when we're running events. I'm big into community. I also work in the Jerome Gun Hill side as well as the Norwood side, but I'm here for my uncle, right? So my uncle Paul, his daughter's on the call as well, Desiree Downer. He could go by Uncle Paul. He could go by Dwight Downer. But as some people in the community know him as Coach D, Dwight Downer. I think the biggest thing here is for the street renaming or possible street renaming is why it's important. And as you saw from that video, it's a testament of who he was within the community. As a coach, retired correctional officer, he worked with Clinton High School, worked with the Bronx Buccaneers in Oval Park. And just not only the changes he made in not my life, his son's life, his daughter's life, but the countless kids that he's coached in all those programs. And it goes far beyond that as well. Not only the kids, but the parents. He built a connection with the parents as well. So I'm coming here to really say, or not say, but really push forward the street renaming for him, whether it's on Gibbon Ave, whether it's on Eastchester Road, and co-naming that street as Dwight Coach D Downer Way or Lane, whatever makes sense. I'm not really familiar with the process of the street renaming. I did help out Kevin C. Riley's team and with the event at the Moody's Way renaming on 225th. And I saw the amount of people that were there. I saw the amount of progress is made. I saw the amount of souls and emotion is touched while the street renaming was being done. And I think it is important just to keep his legacy going on because of the amount of impact he had within not only the Bronx, but the students, the kids, and the parents that he was always around. And that's really it for my presentation. So thank you for that.
John, you gonna take this?
Yes. Yes, I could take it.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
No, I mean, it's a good thing. He did a lot for the community. He was also he's a retired correction officer too, right? I actually
Yeah,
read the
correct.
bio. Could I get the committee? Do we have a quorum right now?
Yes, we have a quorum.
So is there a motion? Could I get a motion on the floor to
Yeah, go ahead. You have there's a motion. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
As a committee right now, okay, we need a motion, all right, to have the street named after the deceased. All right. So go ahead.
I make a motion
who made the motion?
Anthony Reed.
Anthony Reed.
No, I was asking like if we could table our votes to go.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
We can't hear Ariel. She needs to
Yeah, we can't hear you, Ariel.
Can you speak into the mic? We can't hear. Don't mute the mic. No, Robert, do not mute the mic. This is not a private conversation. You're in a public forum. Do not mute the mic.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I was away from the mic. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was away from the mic. That was me. I was saying that I believe the committee should table our votes at the moment because I think that there are things that we have to review. And I know that we just got, not just got, but I know that we're reviewing different cases when it comes to street renaming. So I was asking if we were able to table.
Can I know those details that need to be reviewed? Is that possible or no?
Well,
why are we tabling this?
listen, the circumstances regarding tabling street naming is of a different perspectives when it comes to what we previously dealt with versus what's being proposed at this precise moment. There's no issue with regards to the location in question, so therefore there's no need to table. We just need to go forward and decide if in fact we'd like to have the street renaming regarding this individual.
And he meets the qualification.
There's already a motion on the floor. I don't understand why.
That's correct. All right. We need a second on the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Anthony was first. And Jasmine? Jaslyn. Let me get this right. What's Jasmine's last name?
So a second by who? Jaslyn or Denise?
Jaslyn Farmer second the motion.
Jaslyn Farmer. Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right. Any nays? Oh, there's one nay. Any reclusions? Any abstentions?
Motion
Wayne
carries.
Palmer? Wayne Palmer abstains. That being said, the motion carries.
All right.
All right. At this point, the committee will now bring this to the board for the full recommendation of the board. That's the process that we're dealing with, sir, just so that you understand.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, okay.
We're sorry about your uncle and your dad, his passing. But we're going to move forward with this.
Yes, thank you. One last thing I want to say before we move forward is for that area that he passed away at, we've been talking about this as well as with Kevin C. Riley, is the implementation, which I know there's regulations obviously you have to be in a certain area of a school zone, but whether a speed camera or a speed bump in that area as well. And he also advocated for that. The biggest thing is, right, there's always been accidents in that area. At one time, a car ran into my grandmother's house on that corner on Given Eastchester Road. So there's data that's shown that that area is dangerous in regards to traffic. And that's all I want to say. I'll leave it at that.
So with that being said, could we get a motion to actually request a traffic study for that intersection?
Wait, and you should get the votes for the.
Hey, I'm sorry, let me interrupt. I don't know if a speed hump can go on Eastchester Road, but Jesus from DOT is aware because I put a question already.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Thank
Probably
you.
speed cameras, but probably not speed bumps.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yes, you have your city agency, right? Are the city agencies here? Look and see who's here to talk about budget priorities.
Are there any city agencies here regarding budget priorities?
Yes, Jason Dooley from SBS.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, you have the floor.
Well, yes, thank you guys so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. And so, yeah, I think I'm blanking on who sent us the invite, but I just wanted to ensure more than anything else that we, as an agency, continue to communicate with communities, with neighborhoods, particularly with community boards and all the different services that we offer. I know that you guys are going through the exercise of outlining your budget priorities, but just know that we and all of our different services for job seekers, for small businesses, for commercial corridors throughout New York City are readily available to you guys. I think the nearest Workforce One and Business Solutions Center is, I think it's 400 East Fordham Road, which I think is available by the BX12, if not the D train from Norwood, and other bus and transportations. But even more than that, I know we're on the ground in the Bronx. I think tomorrow we have, and I can send links and or descriptions to all these different items that are coming about. So tomorrow we have a minority and Women Business Enterprises Forum that's on the Grand Concourse in the Bronx until you get a chance to hear from city leadership to support businesses as they're walking through certification as an MWE for the city. We have an event coming up on June 16th on White Plains Road as a business resource fair. We have a mobile outreach unit. We try to get that out. I think we're hoping to get out to the Bronx sometime in the near future. And then we are ideally still doing a job fair with Senator Jamal Bailey's office in North Bronx. That should be on I believe that's the 27th. I'll check my dates to make sure you guys are fully aware of all the different things we offer. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that I'm here as a resource. Happy to have any conversations. Additionally, our outreach team also said they would be happy to do a business services presentation for the community board if that would be of interest. And so, yeah.
It's kind of like a wish list of what we're asking for. George submits the budget for us end of October 31st. In September, we have a public hearing, but before we have the public hearing as a board, we need to take a vote. And in numerical order, prioritize our needs, which then goes to public hearing, and then George submits in October. George, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, generally speaking, the community board is supposed to. Jason is here as a representative of SBS. They meet with us yearly during budget consultations. And as part of that budget consultations, they explain all the programs that they're funding in the district. I'm sorry, in the Bronx. We do borough-wide budget consultations. But this is the opportunity. Generally speaking, these are not public meetings. When we sit down for budget consultations, are not public meetings. When we have district-wide budget consultations, we present a list to SBS and we say, hey, these are all the things we'd like to see in the district or all the things that we want in the district. And then SBS's responsibility to the community board is to say, yeah, we can fund it or no, we can't fund it. And that's pretty much what we have. So this situation, I know it's a little abrupt, but if there's anything that the community board members or board members want to see, especially as specifically as it pertains to SBS. So maybe Jason, you can explain to the board what SBS is responsible for. You did speak about the job centers, but can you mention other projects that you are working on, just so that it gives my board members an idea of like what they should be thinking about when they're making requests of SBS?
Yeah, happy to. And so I think first I didn't even introduce myself. My apologies. I'm the Director of Intergovernment Affairs at Small Business Services, and so really nice to be here and engage with community boards more directly. With the Department of Small Business Services, I think our mission is threefold. So I think our central mission is to enable a strong economic development in New York City through connecting New Yorkers to jobs and workforce training. It's empowering small businesses and then building strong neighborhoods across New York City. And so I think I spoke a little bit about our Workforce One Center. I think our job is to help for New Yorkers, I think all across the city, get connected to opportunities for employment. And if not that, certainly to training, to then connect them to jobs of the future. I think something you guys might have heard of is Jobs NYC. That's the different hiring halls we do in different areas, in different neighborhoods across New York City. That falls under our wheelhouse. We have a great variety of trainings that we also offer, be it for the restaurant industry, just kind of generally, I think one for nurses and more. And then on top of that, we also, by our namesake, support small businesses, be it, I think, additionally more trainings. We have a team that helps connect business owners to staff who've worked in different city agencies to help them cut on fines and regulation and violations. That's another thing that we offer as a non-enforcement agency, just trying to help people get connected to funds and to resources to help them start, operate, and grow their business. I think next after that, our commercial corridors. So if you've ever heard of a business improvement district, we help bids, as they're called. We help them form. We help them get connected to different resources and help to make commercial corridors, different neighborhoods, vibrant throughout New York City. So that's kind of a broad overview of what we do as an agency. And all of our resources are available online. Happy to share any links, things of that sort. But yeah, no, that's generally what we do. So I wanted to make sure I was able to speak to it. So yeah, thanks, George.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Do you have a contact?
Do you have any
Yes.
questions?
Jason, can you put your contact in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
Hold on. Ariel and Ms. Benitez, any suggestions, any questions of what we can ask funds for?
No. I'm aware of the services.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
I know Efatera was on from DEP, but I want to know, DDC is doing all this infrastructure improvements. Have we identified like the low-lying areas where there's flooding and where we need to ask for additional money, or is just those areas of like 233rd and stuff? So you understand what I'm saying, George? Is there other areas we could ask that they identified that needs infrastructure improvements, like say Barnes Avenue between where Mike lives.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask that of SBS.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. That was infrastructure. I thought she was asking
Yeah.
about.
Right, I'm sorry. Can we finish SPS first, John?
Okay.
Sorry, George. We'll circle back. Ms. Benitez, did you have anything for Jason from SPS area?
I don't have anything for SPS.
We couldn't hear you.
I don't have anything for SPS.
Okay. Ariel.
One project that I was going to propose was about the name changing, as far as, because we have a lot of residents in Community 12 who were extraordinary, and it's unfortunate that they have lost their lives. So I was hoping that we could collaborate with parks and that we can have either a mural or we can have the plaques of people's names, where we can have the Community Board 12 when we have those people who have done extraordinary things, that we can have a mural either with their name in it or the plaques. And I wanted to reach out to Community Board 3, which I believe is Parks, to see like how we would do that with Parks, or if that was like, something with DOT. And they did tell me like one park that would be great for that. So that is one thing that I did want to, us as a committee, if we thought that was something that would be a thing, to like kind of move forward with that.
So like a wall of memories.
Like a wall of memories, like
That's
something
great. We'll have to bring that to the board to see
Yeah.
if they're willing to shift it to that way of honoring. And
Yeah.
vote on that. But George, so Ariel is saying, it's a great idea.
It'll be Shoelace Park.
Right, like who would we go to for that? So for example, for street, instead of street naming, another option, having plaques, whether it's in a park, a bench, a wall. Who would we go to get funding for that, or to run that idea by?
So, street renamings are handled by the Parks Department because it requires a piece of legislation from the local council member's office. I believe there are 2 opportunities every year for street renamings. It is not done on a monthly basis. It's done twice a year. And each council member is afforded a certain number of street renamings. Because it's done through the Parks Department, and because Ariel's proposal she's looking at identifying a park in this particular situation, could have that conversation with the parks legislative people. And I would certainly invite the council member's office, because any funding is going to come from the council member's office. So we can initiate those conversations with both council members, because we have 2 different council members. But yeah, we can do that. That should not be a problem arranging meetings with parks to have that conversation.
Okay, so put it in your committee report. We'll pass it by the board at the full board meeting.
Okay, and just to be transparent, I spoke to Luke about it, and he suggested Shoelace Park, they have an underpass.
Okay.
That he thinks that would be like a perfect spot for it.
Okay, put it in your committee report. And that can connect it with you. We're meeting with them Thursday, committee 3. And 2.
Okay. Is that it?
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Is that it?
I think it's F here. Anyone, any other city agency?
No, they all. I was looking to see if Maria was still here, but she's not.
Okay.
Okay.
That number, I couldn't get that number. I couldn't get Jason's number because.
George can get that.
All right. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? Yes, Mr. Palmer.
Mike.
See it?
Yeah. 788.
786.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, Beatrice had a wonderful idea about having someone come into the community. We're looking for someone who could make an assessment, determine what the needs are of the community. I know George had spoken to a young lady can't remember where, George, you had mentioned that you spoke to someone who would be willing to do that.
Hello?
Yeah, and I didn't want it to roll over into past the summer. I was hoping that she could be here this month at the last meeting to at least we can get something started and know where we're going. Is she available to do this, or what's going on here?
Yeah, George, she was committee meetings, but she didn't show up.
I'm sorry, say that again. You broke up.
The fellow that you got for us, I mean, our fellow, she's working with us.
So you're referring to Aish, right?
Yes. She was supposed to be here at our last meeting.
Yeah, she was at our last. I'm sorry. I know she attended a full board meeting. She didn't have an opportunity because we ran over with presentations. I can reach out to her again. She was focused on the questions that were presented by the board. I believe she met with the executive officers of the community board. And, they sort of laid out a plan. She met with them, she presented a plan, but like I said, she was supposed to make a presentation to the full board. She didn't have that opportunity because we ran a little bit over. We can ask her to come back. I don't know if she was a student or is a student, but I think she graduated. She was in a master's program. She came from the Fund for the City of New York. But I can ask her, I can send her an email and ask her to come. I don't know if, our next meeting is the 26th. So that might be a little difficult, but I'll ask. There's no reason why I can't.
Okay.
I'll send an email right now.
Okay.
Her presentation may be too long, but just for a few minutes, because I know some board members may have some ideas of things you can do over the summer.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Just real quick, just for clarity, we're asking her to come to this board meeting because we already have a lot of stuff. All right.
That's what I'm saying. We're kind of packed. So even if she did, just for a few minutes, but so just for a few minutes, just so that, again, to remind everyone what she's doing, but maybe the board can put some ideas. I know she was working on the city of Yes, but we had also wanted her to do some assessments in terms of infrastructure, AMI, stuff like that.
Yeah, and also, White Plains Road development, and I probably think we should have a say in, what's going to take place in White Plains Road, right? So maybe she can help us what direction we'd like to go, how we'd like to see White Plains Road look in the next 20 or 30 years. And maybe we have some ideas that she can put in the presentation.
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
Someone was here about 2 weeks ago when he did a presentation. Yeah, and they were looking for the community board to make some recommendations as to what we like, and I think maybe she should come there in terms of what we like to see, what it would look like, and how.
I can't hear.
Sorry, I thought it would be helpful, if we could have a discussion with her about that also. Senior Yes is what it is. There is but so much power we have at this point. The Senior Yes, they made a determination that they're going to go forward. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think we have some control of how White Plains could look commercially, and if we can present that to Principal Rowley and his committee, I think we should do that.
We can certainly ask.
Yeah.
I was going to say, though, that I wasn't here that was the same day that we did the Yankees foul show. So I was at the Yankees game. Here giving a presentation. He wanted to see around corners. He wants to know and anticipate what the issues are. I think the steering committee is that.
Again, I can't hear.
Would you speak into the microphone?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that.
I think it's a connection issue because it's kind of choppy. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that I think the steering committee that the council member put together, which a number of our board members are on, is that vehicle that Wayne is talking about. City planning works for you guys just as much as they work for Kevin Riley, just as much as they work for, they are funded by taxpayers, they're a city agency. So any of the concerns that you have here that we've been experiencing for the past couple of years with flooding, with infrastructure in terms of, more trains, more litter patrol, more, everything. All of those things should be brought to the steering committee so that you guys can have that conversation. I will say that my conversation with city planning, which was over the phone, they are very cognizant of the challenges for they, I don't know what was said here because I wasn't here. But like I said, my conversation, they were concerned about the canyoning effect. They didn't want to see that happen here where you have, tall, huge buildings on White Plains Road and then it kind of dips. And they wanted to, and this is in light of the fact that we did approve City of Yes. And the question that this community board, and I've said this to Kevin and I've said this to city planning. I'm sorry, I said this to the councilman and I said this to city planning. Do you want White Plains Road to look like the South Bronx right now? Do you want it to look like 161st Street? And that's something that you guys have to consider because that's what's being proposed. We voted against City of Yes, which was a little bit of housing everywhere. Now the councilman's office is targeting White Plains Road for massive development. If you remember 3030 White Plains Road, or Ursula, you can correct me on the address, 3003 White Plains Road, which is the old Rite Aid on White Plains Road and East 222nd Street, came to us potentially with a 30-foot story building. And that was a little shocking to many of us, especially when you consider that right next door, the block over on Richardson was all 1-2 family homes. So a 30-story building next to a 1-2 family homes is that canyoning effect that you see. So those are the things that you have to consider. And that's, what is community board? And this is your responsibility. Now, if you have specific questions, like one of the things that I recommended to the executive board, and Beatrice can correct me, is we had a conversation about affordability. And she was like, we can have a conversation about what market rate is versus what AMI requires. She couldn't do the market rate for us. That's not her expertise, but that's something that we could do. Now, we have, market analysis, yeah. So those are types of things that we can, because remember, one of the reasons we voted, I recall one of the reasons, again, you guys can correct me, we voted against City of Yes was because there were no mandates for affordability. They could just build whatever they wanted. And there was nothing to say, well, we want affordable housing. I don't think that that's the case with what the councilman's office is looking at. The councilman's office is looking at neighborhood targeted rezoning for a very specific area of White Plains Road. But I think that's exciting. Like, we get, you guys as voting members of the board get to vote on this stuff and articulate what you want to see. And if you have specific questions, we can, as a community board, that's what we're supposed to, like, that's what Ursula and I are here to support that. And try to, we have a little bit of money still left over and we have to spend it before the July 1st. So well, that's we're going to try and do that. Yeah, but that's the type of thing. So if there's anything else you want us to, look at, let us know.
Hey George, this is Patrick. I was at that meeting as well, and one of the things they also mentioned for city planning was that new buildings, new housing, the main thing was the infrastructure to support all the new housing as well. So just wanted to let you know that detail as well.
What is, briefly, what do you mean White Plains Road, if we want White Plains Road to look like 161st Street? I didn't understand what you meant by that.
So Clinton, you like me, well, I don't know if you were born in the Bronx, but I was born in the Bronx. Yeah, exactly. So, and I started working for BOEDC more than 20 years ago. And many of the developments that are on 163rd Street from Grand Concourse all the way down to Elton Avenue were not there. And now you have on both sides of 161st Street, 5-story, 7-story buildings. And you have on 3rd Avenue, Boricua College, which is also a multi-story building, taller than 5 stories. It's also similar to what's happening in downtown Brooklyn. Is that what you want for the North Bronx? No, I'm talking like, oh, no, I'm talking about 161 from like where the courthouse is on Grand Concourse all the way down to like 3rd Avenue. You know, like all those buildings are relatively new. I mean, even the courthouse, the family courthouse, is a brand new structure. Well, 20 years old structure, but yeah, those are the types of considerations that you have to make. Downtown Brooklyn, I mean, I go down there every now and then. You have like skyscrapers. Yeah. Say that again.
I was saying, if I'm not mistaken from the meeting, and anybody could correct me, I think that they were saying an imagery of like downtown Brooklyn. I think they mentioned, was it like Queens, like Long Island, Queens, like Long Island City, like things like that. So they did, yeah. So they did mention that as far, yeah, like the look of it, like maybe not necessarily maybe 161st, but I understand what you mean, because that would be our equivalent in a sense. But I think their equivalent is more so looking at downtown Brooklyn and maybe Long Island.
Well, here's the thing. So there is.
Atlantic Avenue project, I believe it says.
Yeah.
That's his idea. Yeah. What they did for the Atlantic Avenue project.
So just so that everybody knows, we're having a public hearing on it here at our board. They're coming to present Monday, June 23rd. This is your opportunity for all of you to come with your questions. And then they're going to come present at the full board. They're going to come to the committee they said the full board meeting in September. But Monday the 23rd, Wayne, and everyone else who's interested in this are going to be here for us having a public hearing. 7 o'clock.
One thing to consider when you talk about, they don't have a subway running down the middle of this dark street, which makes the place even darker. So you put taller buildings up, the place is going to look like dark all the time. There'll be no sunlight coming down in that place. So I mean, the places that they're talking about, that looks wonderful, it looks good with that development. They do not have a subway going down the middle of the street.
But come on Monday the 23rd, Wayne. It's your opportunity.
Oh, well.
And they didn't make recommendations on the height, did they?
No, they didn't.
Maybe they'll start having.
Yeah.
A little bit more in depth. That's what they talking about.
Okay, and on that note, I'd like a motion to adjourn. The time is 8:31. Clinton, Mike?
Mike makes a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Anthony Reed second.
John?
That's us. Okay.
That was John.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, Lee.
Right, just stop this.
You gotta stop recording.